What's up, YouTube? It's Coach Cory. Today, we are going to go over the top 10 brawlers for gem grab. And at the end of the video, I'm also going to give you guys my top 3 teams overall for gem grab. Now, guys, of course, this is an overall ranking. Now, I'll show you the ranking of every brawler individually on the maps, or the top 10 brawlers on every map. But for the overall ranking, that combines everything together on how that brawler is overall throughout gem grab. So it's the top 10 overall brawlers. All right. With that in mind, let's start out with the honorable mentions. They're brawlers who were pretty good in gem grab, but not quite in my top 10. It's going to be Jesse, El Primo, Shelly, and Frank. They're all pretty decent in gem grab, and Jesse, maybe you can argue, but you'll see why she's not soon enough, as long as with these other ones. There's definitely some really good brawlers in gem grab. One of the reasons I like gem grab the most is because it's so varied. You can play so many different brawlers successfully. But with that in mind, let's start out at the bottom. I guess it's the bottom of the ranking, but it's number 10. It's a good brawler. At number 10 in gem grab, it's going to be Pam. Now, Pam, to me, she's not quite as good as she was before, but she's still pretty decent. It's not like Pam ever got any nerfs. Pam used to be the best gem carrier in gem grab and basically got dethroned without getting a nerf, which is not an easy thing to do, but we all know who the best gem carrier is, and we all know it's not very close. But Pam is still a very good gem carrier in her own right. She's just not quite the best anymore. So she's still very, very usable. If you don't want to play, well, it's Poco. If you don't want to play Poco, Pam is a really good second option as an arguable second best gem carrier depending on the map. All right, now number 9, in my opinion, the real second best gem carrier in the game right now, and honestly a little undervalued, it's gonna be Penny. Penny is my number 9 gem grab brawler, and I think she's really undervalued. I really do like Penny, but the one thing I would say with Penny is she's a little bit map dependent. She's actually really, really strong on the maps where throwers are good. On those maps, Penny is my clear number 2 behind Poco. And on a couple of maps, she's actually not that far behind Poco in general. Penny's turret is, or her mortar, actually I guess it's her cannon, whatever you want to call it, that is the main reason Penny is really any good at all. Her normal attack is okay, and it can have some uses on maps where there's small, narrow openings that multiple people might be going through. It can be decent, but the main thing is her cannon. Her cannon has a 12 tile range, and if you get a spawn trap position set up, they're not going to be able to reach that cannon, and they're going to be fighting 3 enemies plus the cannon, and on top of that, they're really not paying attention to the cannon shots very well, because anytime you're taking shots from 1 or 2 other brawlers, and then there's also a cannon shot coming your way, it's really hard to dodge everything. So Penny can be really difficult to deal with if you don't have a good setup. Even if you have throwers, if you can't get near her cannon, it can be really, really hard to deal with. So on certain maps, any thrower-oriented map, Penny is really good as a gem carrier. And now number 8, it's going to be Barley. Barley can be a really good brawler, especially on certain maps like Mushroom Cave, Deep Hollows, even Temple Catacombs. Barley can be a really strong option. The ability to throw over walls is definitely a strong ability. Of course, on those maps, it's really strong as there's a lot of walls, and the throwers can use them to hide behind and just continuously attack enemies. And Barley is a really good option in gem grab because Barley can control the map really well. That's going to be Barley's main function, is keeping enemies back and getting control of the gem mine, especially with Barley's super. It really pushes people back really far. It can help with a spawn trap as well, so Barley has a decent function. Barley doesn't have the strongest amount of damage. That's definitely Barley's weak point. Barley's not going to get a lot of kills, but Barley is very good at controlling the map, and especially on any thrower-oriented map, Barley is going to be one of your top options for those maps. And at 7, it's going to be the other thrower, Dynamite. I like Dynamite a little bit more than Barley in gem grab. Now, you might be able to argue that on the thrower-oriented maps, Barley might be a little bit better of a choice because Barley is better at controlling the map. But I think Dynamite is a little better overall because Dynamite can be used on a little bit more maps. Dynamite is a better of a killer than Barley is, especially with that super, and he gets that super really often, and that can just be really strong in gem grab. Being able to hit multiple people with a good amount of damage is a really strong ability. Of course, he throws over walls too, so maybe Barley is a little bit better on the thrower-oriented maps, but in general, Dynamite can be used on a little bit more maps, and that's why he's going to be above Barley. Now, at number 6, it's going to be Ricochet. Now, Ricochet definitely not as strong as he used to be with those health nerfs and the bounce nerf to his range. He's definitely a little bit easier to deal with. If you were to argue that he would be below the throwers, I would be okay with it and I would be fine with it. But I still think he's above them, mostly because he's a little bit more usable on all the maps overall. Ricochet's not going to quite have the same really high rankings on a couple maps, but he's a little bit more even keel. He's a little bit more consistently a top 10 brawler on every map, especially on Hard Rock Mine and Temple Catacombs. Ricochet is actually one of the best options on those maps. He's able to hold his side really well. If you don't have his star power, he's not going to be as threatening, as he's not going to have that extra range he really needs. And you're probably seeing Ricochet doesn't feel quite as strong because he's dealing with Spike a lot more now, and with Ricochet's lower health, Spike can almost two-shot pretty easily, or Ricochet if you're not careful. So with that, Ricochet doesn't maybe feel really strong, but he's still one of the best options as a support brawler in the game. Now, someone who I think is a little bit better of a support brawler and is at number 5, it's going to be Brock. Brock is just rising to prominence in a lot of different game modes without really getting a buff. He's just honestly, well, okay, he probably got a buff when the game went to landscape and his rockets became huge, and now he can hit people pretty easily. Okay, that was definitely a big buff, and that is part of the reason Brock is rising in a lot of these rankings, and no exception in Gem Grab. Brock is one of the best long-range brawlers in the game right now, and it really shows. He can do a lot of damage per hit, and that fire of his star power is okay, but it adds a little bit of damage. But his super is really threatening as well. Having a super that can go over walls is a threatening super, and it does do a lot of damage over a wide amount of area. It might not be quite as strong as a super like Dynamite's or as consistent, but it has the ability to be, and that alone can be enough to scare people away. Not to mention it does go over walls, break them, so it has a lot of value. Brock is just a really well-rounded brawler. Maybe he's not super OP, but he's definitely really good. Now, these next 4 are my clear top 4. They are definitely the best in Gem Grab by a decent amount, in my opinion, and they are on a lot of different maps. They're going to be one of the top brawlers on almost all of these maps with no exception. Now, at number 4, it's going to be Nita. I really like Nita right now. Nita is a really strong option on almost every map, just a really consistent amount of damage, being able to chip around walls really well, can be a lot of pressure, and then you throw down that bear, it's going to push people back. Nita just is hard to deal with. Nita has a really high amount of health, a really fast reload. It's just a really annoying brawler to deal with overall unless you're a Spike, basically. But as far as aggro brawlers go, Nita is going to be one of your top 2 probably on almost every single map. So Nita, not to be underestimated. Now, number 3, I guess it's going to be the other aggro brawler. It's going to be Tara. Tara is definitely really strong in Gem Grab right now. That super can win games so well. The ability to get a kill with your super so easily like Tara can is really unmatched, and it's a really strong ability to win games by herself. Tara can definitely win games, and not only that, being able to win her side really well with that super is also really important in Gem Grab. Being able to win your side helps you establish map control really easily and is not to be underestimated and is not to be undervalued. You want to talk about being scared when a brawler has their super? Okay, well, Tara, yeah, when Tara has her super, you are scared. You are very careful, very aware of where that Tara is at all times. And if you are not, if that Tara catches you not being aware, you're dead. Most likely, you're very dead unless your teammates can save you. But even then, they're probably supering you closer, and then their teammates are going to help kill you as well, possibly getting 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 kills, depending on how grouped up you are. It's a really dangerous super, and in Gem Grab, that's really important, being able to super the gem carrier or anyone who's carrying gems, or just winning a side helps you establish control of the map or just get the gems really easily. Now, number 2, in my opinion, the clear number 2 brawler in Gem Grab, it's gonna be Spike. Spike is just so strong in general right now, and his Spike throw is just really, really strong. It does a lot of damage. He can throw it and then go behind the wall and it's going to hit someone. He can basically be a longer range Nita. He can have a really long chip range if he needs to, if he just wants to get that extra chip damage. It's not maybe the most reliable every single time, but it's really, really strong overall. And he has a good super for gem grab as well. It's an area super that slows people down, so you can either push them back and make them stay away, or it can catch them in it and it can make them, well, basically get team killed really easily, or he can use it on himself to heal up as well. He does have a low amount of health and that's definitely his weakness, but as far as a support brawler, he is definitely the best in the game, as he has good chip and he has really good damage, and his range is actually pretty good even though he does have low health. And even though Spike has a low health, he has a really high damage, and with his super, it can allow him to stay alive in those close range situations. So maybe you think you can take advantage of the low health brawler, but once he supers you and himself, yeah, good luck, buddy, because it is over. Alright, I'm sure you know who my #1 overall brawler is for gem grab. It's gonna be Poco. Poco is just so strong in every single game mode, and gem grab is Poco's best game mode. So Poco is definitely the #1 brawler, just able to get so much damage. Poco not normally a damage dealer, but now Poco is able to hit multiple people really quickly, can deal a good amount of overall damage throughout the course of a game. Maybe not going to do a lot of individual damage versus one brawler, but can hit multiple people really well, and the range is actually pretty good. On top of that, can sort of shoot around walls like Nita can. Of course, there's that heal, making Poco a really good gem carrier, plus having that really high health. Poco is definitely the strongest brawler in gem grab. Now let's go over my top 3 teams in gem grab. Now, of course, it can be a little bit map dependent, so I'm going to give you 3 comps, and I'm going to tell you what maps to play them on. Now, the first one I'm going to go over is going to be Poco, Tara, and Spike. This is a really strong overall comp. It's a generic comp that's probably good on almost every single map if you want it to be. But this team comp is best on maps like Bone Box and Crystal Cavern. Those are definitely going to be the best maps for this sort of team comp. You could sub in the Spike for a brawler like a Ricochet. You could sub in Tara for Nita. You could sub in Poco for Jessie as well. Now, the next team comp is going to be a bit more for thrower-oriented maps. You're going to, of course, go with Poco, right? If not, I would go with Penny, and then you would go with Barley or Spike. If you don't have Spike, I would go with Dynamite, or you could go with Nita, and you might have a little bit more consistent damage. Now, that team comp isn't going to be going really strong on the kills. It's going to be mostly going for map control. It's definitely a very good map control team comp. It's going to push people back. It's going to super them and keep them in their spawn and slowly chip away at them, and you can team kill them pretty well. Now, the last one is going to be for maps like Hard Rock Mine and Temple Catacombs. Of course, you got to go with your friendly gem carrier, Poco. Poco is definitely going to be your best option here. I'm not really going to recommend a different brawler. The other two is going to be Ricochet and Spike. Of course, you got to have Spike. Spike is really, really good. If you don't go with Spike, though, I would go with Tara or Nita as a basic support aggro brawler. Now, Ricochet is definitely a really strong option. You could go with Spike instead of Ricochet as well, but otherwise, if you don't go with Ricochet, I'd probably go with Brock. That's going to be a really good option. This team comp is really good at spawn trapping, a really good spawn trapping team comp. Really hard to get away from, really hard to get out of. They just deal a lot of damage. It's a little bit low health, but they have a lot of overall damage that's really hard to fight through, and that makes it really good at spawn trapping. Alright, everyone, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know what you think of the rankings, and let me know if you liked showing the top team comps for the game mode as well. Now, also let me know what game mode you want me to go over next time in my rankings. If you want to check out my recent rankings, I did a top 10 showdown and a top 10 Brawl Ball brawlers as well. Go check those out up next. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.